This video is being created for Engineering 1332, Spring 13th semester, and I'll be creating the Exam 1 part for the Tuesday groups, and I'll be following the sketch, of course, that was given, and I'll really be saying very little. I'll just be looking over, reading the dimensions, and creating the pieces as I go with sort of a minimum of commentary. Okay, so start a new part. Double click on part. First thing I want to do is set it to metric. Millimeters. Okay. I'm going to start off by sketching the handle. So I'm going to sketch on the front plane. And the handle is a line. That does pass through the origin is the way I'm going to do that, and it's a tangent arc, so I'm going to go tangent there, and let's put some dimensions on the thing. From the coordinate system to the top is 50, coordinate system to the bottom is 75, and that arc radius is 100, and from the center of the coordinate system to the beginning of the arc is half of 25.4 divided by 2, which is 12.7. That is fully defined. I will offset entities 1, 2 by 5 millimeters. That is the right direction. I'll accept that. Close in the edges. That handle is acceptable, and I'm going to extrude that about mid-plane, and I'm going to go a little oversized. I'm going to go total width of 200, and I will deal with that in just a minute. I will accept that feature. I'm going to turn it around and sketch on this face. Sketch, sketch, view perpendicular, and I'm going to create the cutout that's going to be used for the handle, and I'm going to do that with a 3-point spline that starts at the very top and right above the origin, and it's going to move out to horizontal with the origin, and then it's going to come in and snap onto the bottom. Okay, and so there's my spline. I'm going to create a center line because it's going to be useful. That center line will project through the origin and run vertical, project through those points. And now I'm going to do some work on that spline. I'm going to smart dimension from that point to the center line, but then go to the right hand side, type in a dimension of 40 rather than a dimension of 20, which would be typed on the left hand side. That snap does not appear to have worked, so let's make that snap work. Oops, that's not a dimension. Hit escape a few times. Hold down control, and I want those to be coincident. That's better. Now we'll do some editing on the spline. I want this to be horizontal. I want this one to be vertical, and I want this one to be vertical. Simply by looking at the sketches, you can tell that that is the nominal shape. Now I will smart dimension from this line to that point, a dimension of 90. And we're getting pretty close. Now I will smart dimension the tensions of 175, I think, yes. So that's 175. 175, and 175. Now, why is my spline not fully defined? What can I move? I can't move that. Left, right, up, or down. Can I move this point? I can move it up and down, which means it didn't keep my horizontal lock. So I don't know why it loses them when I appeared to have snapped them in, but I will snap that back in, and now my spline is fully dimensioned, and I'm going to go ahead and mirror it. Just select it all and mirror everything about that center line. Should be able to do it. Didn't seem to. Let's try that again. We'll just take the spline and click on mirror entities. Mirror about that center line. There we go. That's better. Not sure why it didn't do it the first time. And I will close this line in. So now I've got a closed sketch. Well, thought I had a closed sketch. Try that one more time. There we go. Okay, I like that sketch. It's fully dimensioned. And I'm going to use that sketch to do a cut. And I want to cut to the outside is what I want to remove. Let's accept that. That gives me that shape that I want. I will again sketch on this plane to cut out some of the pretty part. And let's view perpendicular. And let's offset entities here and there. But that's the wrong direction. And I want a distance of 10. And now I'm going to create a vertical line that goes from this. Well, I got to finish that first. Vertical line that goes from here. Why didn't I get the offset? That happens to me every now and then. One more time. Offset. Offset. Come on. Set both of those. There we go. I'll make this line vertical. It will snapping onto the spline and vertical. And now I'm going to fill it. Yes. And yes. And I want 10 on both of those. Fillets are done. And now, let's see. I would like to constrain this line, which can probably move around a little bit. I want to constrain that line and that point to be coincident, and it doesn't like that. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let's undo that. Okay, I think when I trim the splines, it just makes it unhappy if they're undersized. So let me try retrimming them so that they're oversized at first. We'll get rid of all of that. And we'll go back to offset entities. And I want to get both of these at once, not that it really matters. And reverse them. And a 10 millimeter. And accept. And then I'm going to draw a line that goes from here to there. And now I'm going to ask this line to be coincident with that point. Nope. I wanted the entire line to be coincident with that point. It ought to work. It's not working because that one snapped to the end point of that line. So let's fix that again then. I don't want to be at the end point. I don't want to be at that end point. That's probably not bad. And I do want to be vertical. Okay, now can I make this line and this point coincident and keep it? That's the key thing. It's the and keep it. And now we'll do this. It's fine. And that's a 10. And I want to go here and there. It says it's going to get rid of some stuff. Let's see what it gets rid of. Okay, nope, I am fully defined because this line is still constrained to be there. That sketch is perfect. I'm going to do the mirroring at the feature level. And so we're going to do an extruded cut. And let's see, where's my, okay, that ought to be fine. That cut is done. And now I'm going to take that cut and mirror it about the front plane and accept that feature. Okay, there's the handle. Now let's create the blade. I'm going to sketch there, sketch, view perpendicular, and this thing is roughly 25.4 tall by about 4 wide. Why not start with a rectangle and the center line? Center line will attach to the origin and be vertical. And then I want that line, and that line to be symmetric. They're symmetric. Okay. And then we will smart dimension this one to be 4. And this one to be 25.4. And I'm going to dimension from here to that line. Oops, it wasn't in smart dimension. From there to that line of 25.4 divided by 2, or 12.7. That centers that thing up. And now I will draw a line, and a line. We'll see if it keeps that symmetry. I will now trim those two, and those two, and I will create a 3-point arc, which will go there, and there, and let's zoom in a little, and there's good for now. And I will create some dimensions from this line to that point of 3.5, and from this point to that line of 13, and from this point to that line of 18, I believe. Yes, it is. And the radius of this is 20, I believe. Okay. And I'm going to take the arc and mirror it about the center line to the other side and accept that. And now I'll do some trimming of that line and that line. I've created that profile. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and create my chamfer in the sketch. It could be done. Okay, and I want a distance of 0.5. And am I getting, yeah, that's a chamfer. And then there and there as well. Zooming in, accept that, and drag those out of the way a little bit so I can see the cross section a little better. There is my blade cross section. It's not fully dimensioned because I lost symmetry somehow Don't know why that happens. It ought to keep it. And I'm going to go with horizontal. That's fine. Now, why am I not fully defined? Because that dimension is apparently not given as there to there being 25.4. It had it but lost it at some point apparently. Okay, now I'm fully dimensioned. That's the shape of the blade. Now I need to draw a sketch on the front plane. Let's see. There's my sketch 4. So now I need, I've got to get out of that sketch. Okay, and now a new sketch on the front plane, viewing perpendicular. And this will be the spline that gives me the shape. And that spline runs through the top of my blade and right through the center of the top is where that spline is defined. And so I'm going to need to create a point. Oops. Let's see if I can do that easily enough. I'm going to create a point at the intersection of those two. That's good. And then I'm going to use that point to create my spline. And it'll create a, let's see, let's go ahead and create it approximately right. And that's a 2-point spline. Let's go back and view perpendicular. And then through that same point, I'm going to create a center line. And that is both a horizontal and vertical snap. And now let's start dimensioning some things. And I'm going to create, let's see, no, I don't need a tangent. Clicking on this and there. Let's just bring this down a little bit first of all. Okay, well, I did that one first. We'll do 1,000 there. And now, okay, now we'll take this direction. Click there and there. I want a smart dimension, that and that. And I want that angle to be 17 as given. Okay, and then I'll come back to this side and take that and set it to 1,000. And then, ooh, I think my number was too big. Yes, it is. Well, I keep getting that wrong. Come on. There we go. That's the right size. And then getting out of dimensions, I want that one to be horizontal. If you look at the picture, it's clearly horizontal. And there is my spline sketch. It ought to be fully defined spline, but let me play with it a little bit and see. Oh, no, I haven't dimensioned that yet. Smart dimension there to there of 1,000. And smart dimension there to there of 150. Now, boy, I really think everything should be fixed, but something may have let loose here. Let's get out of smart dimension. That spline can move up and down, and I really thought I had fixed it to a point. So let's bring it back down to where my sketch is. suppose I want to make it coincident. And that was the whole point of that point. And it let go. Let's see, I control line, control point. No, point. Now control on the line. And I've already got a coincident relationship. It's a coincident 8, 1, and 0. Sketch 3, 4, and point 1. They are not. Well, I'm going to cheat, and I don't like doing this. I thought that would let me put in a dimension of 0. I would have to bring that into that sketch. Okay. That point and that line, the only relationship it gives me is a pierce, which is new to me, but that does seem to get the job done. I'm not sure why my point didn't stick when I wanted it to stick earlier. I am fully defined, and now I have my 2 sketches needed for the sweep, and I will do the sweep. It's already figured that out, and so there's the sweep. Okay, the blade and the hardest part of the handle are made. I think I've really done all of the hard work on the part, and so let's go do some of the more easy things. My phone's ringing. Hang on. Let's see. I want to sketch on the front plane because I'm going to cut the tip off of the sword, and I'm going to do that by creating a line that goes from that point, and it is on the sword. Make sure that actually gets onto the sword. That's good. And now I'm going to want to create a horizontal center line so that I can dimension. So let's bring that back in, and I'll go through the origin, zoom out, and then make sure that's horizontal. It is. Then I will smart dimension that line to this center line with an angle of 57 degrees was given. And there's my sketch, fully dimensioned, and I'm going to do a extruded cut, and let's see, flip side to cut. Let's accept that, see if I got it right. It did. So there is the tip. Now I will create the beads down the center of the handle. So that's going to be another sketch on the front plane. And I will create a center line. Make it horizontal. There, it snapped horizontal. And I will create a rectangle that should snap to that point and go to right about there. I'll set its height in just a minute. Matter of fact, I'll do that right now. I'll set that height to 25.4 divided by 12. Oops, that's not right. Okay, 12.7 is the right answer. And now I'm going to do a tangent arc there and there. And we'll make sure that those actually snap there and there. Coincident. Okay. And smart dimension that to 5, which sets the width. Now everything should be fully dimensioned, and I will trim that line. Let's see, I lost something. What's not fixed? Let's play with it. Grab it, see what moves. Something's gonna move. There we are. So I somehow lost the horizontal constraint. And now they're all black. I'll accept that. And I will do a revolve boss base about that axis. I will accept that. And then with that selected, I'm going to go do a linear pattern of those. Direction could be lots of things, but that line's probably as good a direction as any. And I want to change the direction. I do want to make 19 of those. And that should be done. And now I'm going to create the next part of the handle by sketching on the front plane and squaring the sketch up. Oops. Do that again. Okay, that's the side I prefer to work on. And I'm going to draw a line that goes from here, and I'll have it go out too far. It's horizontal, and I'll have it go up too high, and that one is vertical. And I will put a fillet of size 40, looking at the sketch. I missed my 40, but we'll change it. 40. Okay. And then we'll do some relationships between that point and that line. I didn't hit control, so I'll hit control on the point. And I want those to be coincident. And then I'm going to do an offset entities after I accept that constraint. Offset entities of that and that and that, and that's the wrong direction. Dimension of 5, and I like that, so I will accept it. Escape. Let's sketch in this line to close that. Let's sketch in this line to close that. And now we will smart dimension from here to there is what's given as 193. Okay, everything is black. I'll accept that, and I will do a feature extrude, midplane, and 40. That should give me that feature. Perfect. Now I need to fillet this edge and that edge, and those fillets should be of size 20. And that's done. And then the final step is to put the knob on the end, and so I'm going to do another sketch on the front plane, view perpendicular. Let's bring that on in. I will draw a center line through the origin that is horizontal. And then I'm going to draw an arc, 3-point arc on there, and on there, and there. And since constraints seem to disappear on me, I'm going to make them explicit. I want that to be coincident. And then I'm going to smart dimension 75, and then I'm going to have that point and this line be coincident, and now everything is black. I will close my sketch, and that's good. And I'm going to revolve, and that should work just fine. Why didn't that revolve? Let's see. Make sure that it knows I want to do that as my line of revolution. Selected contour, it needs that sometimes. I don't know why. It should have found that by itself. And there is the sword.